Hello, and welcome to The Mindset, the show where we set our minds on ideas that help us attain our goals and benefit those around us. My name is Albert, and joining me is Dada.
Today, we'll be talking about our needs and how it's a relative concept that requires a careful consideration.
Let's consider the case of driving a car. Now, some may argue that having a car is not strictly necessary. And that may be true for a person who's relatively fit, or maybe you live in a city where there's good public transportation, but it's not really viable for everyone. I live in a rural community where it would be unrealistic for me to be able to go to the store to get food for my kids or take them to school, get to work, and my wife to get to work if we didn't have a vehicle.
This idea of need has changed over time. In the past, people only needed their feet to travel. Then came the invention of wheel, boats, and much more. And we are still inventing new ways of traveling. Now we have cars, we have planes, we have trains, and we use different means of transportation to get around. So what we need in terms of transportation has changed and is also different from one place to another place, and even from one person to another person. We can consider that another human need is to feel happy or to have peace of mind. Sometimes we think that to feel happy, we need some items, some product, or some possessions. And that's what commercials do. They try to connect our feeling of happiness with some item or some product that we need to acquire. But in fact, we don't really need an external thing to feel happiness, because this happiness is within us. Still, there will be things that we really need to maintain our existence, to maintain our body and our mind in a good state.
Happiness on its own often gets associated with the idea that, well, if something is making me uncomfortable, then how could it possibly make me happy? I know, for instance, when I first learned meditation and presented it to friends and family, often a reaction I would get is, well, how does seeing such uncomfortable things about yourself really make you happy? I mean, if you're uncomfortable looking at those things, then that's not happiness. And in a sense, that's true, but we're talking about two different concepts here. There's the idea of happiness or fulfillment in a large scale, and there's just immediately what's going on in this moment. I didn't grow up having much money, and so I didn't have a family history of saving money, say. I got a good job after college, I started making some money, and it was hard to save because I had an established history of just you spend it when you get it. And I thought that this was meaning happy. But at some point in my life, I had some credit card debt and have experienced that, and that's not happy. So this idea that I had to acquire things to be happy, long-term made a situation where I was very unhappy.
Maybe this instant gratification we get when we get some product or when we eat something or drink something. But happiness is more than that. And I like to say that it's something very deep. And I repeat, it's something that we can find within ourselves. And it's not really depending on accumulating wealth or having something. And when we find it inside us, nobody can take it from us, because the source is inside.
Today we looked at need, and we made the case that it's a relative idea. It's very difficult to look at in absolute terms because, as we saw, what is need for me is not need for somebody else. And what is need for a city is not need for a rural area, and so on. When we're looking at what we need and fulfillment, take time to consider, is this just to cover up a short-term deficiency or something I feel like an emptiness? Is this really going to long-term create a situation where I have stability and peace of mind?
Today we also brought the idea that we might need much less than we think to find real happiness. Besides the point that our needs change with the time, with the place, with the person, there is the needs and that is what is going to give us happiness. And if our needs are satisfied, then we are more free to go inside and look for happiness. So it's also important to minimize our needs for what we really need and not the extra one.
That's all we have for today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can also check out our website at themindset.page. We have a full list of episodes there.
And thank you for watching.